I'm Kathleen Henderson from Roots and Boots, and I'm going to share with you today a health update, including my recent weight gain and weight loss. So, those of you who have been following for a while may remember the skinnier version of myself from several years back, and you might also remember the period of time when I was experiencing a mysterious weight gain and could not get to the bottom of where this was coming from. So I wanted to share an update with you. My situation has improved since then, so I thought I would share some details here in this video on YouTube to have an easy place to direct those of you who have questions. As I've mentioned, I have hypothyroidism and I did have Hashimoto's. My labs all show that the Hashimoto's is either gone or in remission. I have no Hashimoto's markers right now, which is fantastic news, but that's kind of my health history. And so when we moved to the farm in 2018, that was the same year that I turned 40. All my life, I have been on the skinny side, not because I didn't eat, not because I had any kind of disordered relationship with food. I've always loved to eat. I love good food. And I think I just had a high metabolism. I think I probably got that from my dad. And my body just always metabolized everything that I ate. I didn't eat unhealthily and I didn't overeat, but my point is that I wasn't anorexic, I wasn't bulimic, I never counted calories. It was a non-issue for me. I ate when I was hungry, I ate what I wanted to eat. I got healthier and healthier in my eating as I went along, but then I began to have some health mysteries, namely a succession of miscarriages. I won't go into all the details there. That's what led me to the testing that revealed slight hypothyroidism and then even greater hypothyroidism and then Hashimoto's. And so I am on thyroid medication and I have taken thyroid medication for a number of years. But once we figured out my thyroid issues and got me on the right combination of thyroid medications and I made major adjustments to my diet, that is when my family decided to start avoiding gluten and refined sugar and really started focusing in on eating real food. And of course, you know, one thing led to another, and we wound up on a 20-acre farm where we grow over 70% of our family's own food. That was all motivated by my own health journey. Well, we got to this farm where we were growing food. It was like drinking water from a fire hose for the first couple of years, getting everything established. And my husband still works a full-time job and we homeschool. I also turned 40 that same year that we bought the farm. And so here's what happened. About 2 years into the farm, this was about 3 years ago, I started noticing my weight creeping up. We don't even own a scale, so it's not like I was weighing myself on a regular basis, but my clothing began to be tight. Like, I outgrew my clothing. And it was a very frustrating, very depressing, very discouraging time for me because I have never struggled with this and I didn't have any explanation. There was nothing that I could point to. I didn't change the way I was eating. For a while, my best explanation was just the period of intense stress that we went through in starting the farm. Many of you know that barely 1 year into that adventure on the farm, my husband Greg totally blew out his knee and he was sidelined for basically a year. It was very, very bad timing. When it happened, we were still feeling totally underwater, but like we were starting to come up for breath, like we were starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel as far as getting all the systems established on the farm. And then he had that injury on May 7th. I will never forget that date, at the very beginning of our second growing season, our first full growing season on the farm. It was a very, very, very stressful time for me. We were kind of at the stage where my older boys were getting old enough to help with some things, but we were so new to the farm that we hadn't really established systems or taught them or trained them, for instance, how to use the weed eater, the weed whacker, or the zero-turn lawnmower, or any of those things. So I was shouldering all of those responsibilities on top of like feeding and clothing my family and homeschooling, and then filling in other gaps for my husband because he couldn't even walk for a while, and then he had to walk very carefully, and all that to say it was a very, very stressful time. And so my thought in relation to the weight gain was it was just too much stress for my body. My body just freaked out, put up the weight flag and said, I'm done. Like, I'm tapping out. And this was my body's response to the stress. I underwent all kinds of testing for autoimmune stuff, all kinds of stuff. My holistic MD looked under every rock with me, and I actually felt a little frustrated with him because I felt like, you know, I was expecting him to figure it out, and we just could not identify anything. We also played around with my thyroid medication. This is a long story, but at a certain point we had switched my medication because the certain brand was not readily accessible, and anyway, looking back, we thought, well, maybe that contributed to some of the weight gain. Let's see if we can find that original medicine that I had been doing well on and go back to that. And we did that. I was hopeful it would make an impact. Zero impact. Finally, after 2 years of like my weight continued to increase, I gained 35 pounds, which for me was 1/4 of my original body weight, which was a lot. I had to replace my entire wardrobe. I'm talking lingerie, underclothes, snow pants, like everything. Clothes for all the seasons. I live in a place where we have 4 seasons. You know, I need winter clothes, I need summer and spring clothes, and I felt really, really frustrated. But eventually I met with, she's actually a friend of mine, but she practices naturally minded women's health. She's not a doctor, but she used to be a midwife, and she has a practice where she helps women with their health. She's a little bit like a gynecologist. I went to her and said, okay, what is going on? Can you please tell me, is it my hormones? Like, help me figure this out. And she is the one who told me, some of you are going to be disappointed to hear what the answer was after all of this. Basically, when I hit my 40s, maybe all that stress was a factor. Maybe it accelerated my body's reaction or exacerbated my body's reaction. But some of us, when we hit our 40s, our metabolism starts slowing down, and we have to kind of change the way we are doing things. So while I hadn't changed the way I was eating, I hadn't changed the way I was moving my body. In fact, I was more active than I had been before when we were newly on the farm, and I was still eating the same way that I had been before. But what she explained to me is that I needed to be focusing on building muscle and eating less and eating more vegetables, which might sound ironic since I grow a lot of vegetables. One thing that I had not introduced yet was exercise. I've honestly always been a little resistant against exercise and against the like fitness industry. I will never be a gym rat. I am not a fan of gyms, and I won't go into all the details there, but I finally thought, you know what? I don't have to be a gym rat. I don't have to be a marathon runner, but I do want to have a strong and healthy body. And one of the things that was really bothering me the most is that by packing on that extra weight, I wasn't able to bend and like move my body the way I had been used to before, and it really impacted my gardening, and it made me really grumpy outside when I was trying to tend to my garden. And so my focus was, even if this doesn't help me lose weight, I do want to have a strong body, and as I age, I do want my body to be strong, and I want to age well. So what can it hurt to build some muscle? So I just started lifting some dumbbells. I ordered a set of dumbbells, and just on my own, I started doing some strength training. Then I got an app and I looked for all of their strength training and dumbbell workouts, and I would do those. And we're talking like twice a week, maybe 15 minutes. I just had to start somewhere. And then eventually where I landed is I'm now working out 3 mornings a week for about 30 to 40 minutes. I have a fantastic program that I found that has worked so well for me. And I do that 3 mornings a week. On the off days, Tuesdays and Thursdays, and sometimes Saturdays, I still continue my morning walk. That is my routine. And then combined with, I did make some nutritional changes. I haven't really changed what I'm eating, other than I'm emphasizing a lot more greens. I try to eat a salad as a meal at least once a day. I sometimes do a smoothie for breakfast while my family is eating their big, awesome farm breakfast. I just make myself a smoothie that has greens in it and also protein. I'm also cutting back on the amounts that I'm eating. I realized that during my childbearing and nursing years, my body needed more calories, and it's okay. Like, my body is just shifting into these older years and doesn't need as many calories as it did before. When I first got married, when I was a younger adult, I really suffered from getting hangry. And to the point that my husband actually sent me to the doctor twice and said, there has to be something wrong with you. Like, have them help you figure out what is wrong with you. Why do you get so depleted and hungry and hangry, you know, when you need to eat? And so I think I kind of developed this mindset of, like, I have to fuel my body enough to get to the next meal. Like, I don't want to hit that like low battery, hangry state. I want to be fueled for my very busy, very active life. And so I was used to, I feel like I ate a lot at every meal. I always felt like I ate more than my friends, but it never affected my weight. As I mentioned, I think I had a high metabolism. And so I just had to make a shift now that I'm in my 40s, scaling back on how much I'm eating and emphasizing more vegetables, adding in that strength training. And I'm happy to say that of those 35 pounds that I gained, I have lost 20 of those pounds. I would love to lose that remaining 15 pounds, but honestly, I think if I never went any lower than I have currently, I could be happy with this for the rest of my life. And on top of that, I am the most toned and the most fit that I have been in ever in my life, because I've never really exercised or done strength training like I am now. And it feels really good. It feels good to be strong. It feels good to be fit. It feels good. I'm not fitting back into my original size, but it feels good to have come down a size or two from where I had topped out. It's been very encouraging. And anyway, for those of you who have been following along on the journey, I wanted to give you an update and provide some details. And I hope it's helpful, especially if you find yourself probably in your 40s and facing a changing metabolism and your body is just changing and you don't understand why. I hope this is helpful to you. And if you need a good fitness workout program, I'm not an affiliate or anything, but I've really loved the one that I've been using for months and months now. It's been very effective for me, and it's been very effective for a lot of people also. So if you need me to point you in the right direction for that, I'm happy to do that as well.